All right, we are in Unit 3, Lesson 6, our I can statement today. I can determine if a word problem is multiplication or division. For the last couple of weeks, we've just been having problems where it's a fraction divided by another fraction. So it would look kind of like this, like 3/4 divided by 5/8. Or sometimes there'd be a whole number in front and it'd be something like 2 3/4 divided by 5/8. Today we're going to figure out how to know if a word problem is multiplication or division. So let's get started. The easiest way to determine if a problem is multiplication or division is to ask yourself this question up on the top. Do we know the number of groups in the problem, and do we know the size of each group? If the answer is yes to both of those, yes to both, then it's multiplication. So here's a non-6th grade example. A classroom has 4 rows of 6 chairs. How many chairs are in the classroom? This is a multiplication problem because we were given 2 numbers, but specifically the numbers tell us 4 rows is the number of groups, right? So here are my groups. I'm going to circle them. First group, second group, third group, fourth group. They told us how many groups. In this case, the groups are called rows. But they also told us what was inside of each group. There were 6 chairs inside of each group. Here they are. I'm going to count really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 4 groups. I have 4 rows, and each one has 6 chairs. This is multiplication. I could make this problem be 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, but the shortcut is to say I have 4 groups of 6. That is multiplication. At the end, I found out the total, the all together, right? We wanted to know how many are there, all right? So this is are in the room. This is the total. We had to figure out how many there are altogether, right? If you know how many groups there are and the size of each group, then you have multiplication because they want to know how many there are altogether. However, if you have a problem that looks like this one, a teacher has 30 chairs. If she wants to put 10 chairs in each row, how many rows can she make? This problem is division because something is missing. I know the size of each group, right? So I'm looking over here. I know the size of each group. Each group has 10 chairs, right? And I also know how many chairs there are altogether. There are 30 altogether. But now I'm asked to find how many groups can be made, the number of groups. And I know that because it says how many rows. I also know because I know how many there are altogether and I know how big each group should be. All right, so if I was going to solve this problem, I would then grab some chairs and make rows of 10. So there they are, right? So see how I did some moving around, all right? Whoops, whoa, that was crazy. I had to take some chairs and move them around to find out how many groups. Now I can see there are 1, 2, 3 groups, right? At the beginning, you couldn't see 3 rows. I had to make 3 rows. I had to take a certain amount and regroup them, all right? Okay, so let's look at the 6th grade version from our current unit. You know Ms. Corrigan likes to bake. She used 3/4 of a cup of sugar to make a dozen brownies. How much sugar is in each brownie? I'm going to read it one more time, and then I'm going to pause the video, and you need to make a guess. Ms. Corrigan used 3/4 cup of sugar to make a dozen brownies. How much sugar is in each brownie? All right, whether you're right or you're wrong, I'm going to give you credit for this, unless you say, I don't know. So, is this multiplication or is this division? Okay, if this problem is multiplication, we need to know two things. We need to know the number of groups, and we need to know the size of each group. And in this case, the problem isn't about chairs, it's about brownies. So we can call this, instead of the number of groups, we can call this the number of brownies, right? And we know the size of each brownie, okay? So let's take a look at this problem. Ms. Corrigan used 3/4 cup of sugar to make a dozen brownies. How much sugar is in each brownie? So do we know the number of groups? And the answer is yes. You have to look kind of careful. How many brownies is she making? She's making a dozen brownies. So we know that the number of groups is 12 because 12 is a dozen. But do we know the size of each brownie? So let's go back to this other number that's in this problem. It says she used 3/4 cup of sugar. So sometimes kids say, yeah, I know. The size of each brownie is 3/4 cup of sugar, right? There's 3/4 cup of sugar in each brownie, but that's not what it says. It says to make all of the brownies. So not to make one of them, but to make all of them. So we do not know the size of each group. We do not know how much sugar is in each one. That means this problem has to be division. She used 3/4 cup of sugar to make all of this. So all together, there's 3/4 cup of sugar in here. So that means there's some missing fraction in here that gets repeated over and 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 over. I don't know. Maybe it's a tenth. If it was a tenth, then that one would have a tenth, then that one would have a tenth, then that one would have a tenth. All right? If the size of each group was 3/4, then we would say there's 3/4 cup of sugar in that one, and 3/4 cup of sugar in that one, and 3/4 cup of sugar in that one. But it said 3/4 cup of sugar to make all of them together. So that can't be right. Okay, so in the chair problem, it was pretty easy. We could just move the chairs around to make groups of 10. This time it's not so easy, and I don't know what number goes inside each of those brownies. But I do know that if this is division, then I need all of the sugar that she used, which was 3/4 of a cup. She used all of that 3/4 of a cup, and she split it equally. And this just naturally happens through the baking process. It gets split equally into 12 brownies. Right? So now I need to find that answer, which means I need to make 12 become a fraction. So 3/4, probably should have used the same color. Let's try again. 3/4, and 12 gets rewritten as a fraction, 12 on top of 1. And then divide, and then you remember the song. If you want to divide, look on the right side. Find the reciprocal. So instead that's 1/12. And then we multiply. Times and 3/4. Hey, I super love it when there's a 1 in a diagonal because those numbers don't change. So I'm just going to write them the same way they are. 1 and a 4. But now I have a 3 and a 12 in the other diagonal. The only way I can write 3 is 3 times 1. So to make 12, I need 3 times 4. Cross out my 3/3. And remember, I can't cross out the 4s because they're both denominators. So now I have 1 times 1 as a numerator. That's 1. And on the bottom, I have, grab a different color, 4 times 4, that's 16. My answer is 1/16, but not 1/16 of a brownie. It's 1/16. Let's go back. How much sugar is in each brownie was our question. How much sugar? So it's not 1/16 sugar because the other sugar was measured in cups, cup of sugar. Then this answer is 1/16 of a cup of sugar. All right, so here's the really cool thing. If I go back Remember how I didn't know what fraction went on each of those brownies? I do now. It's 1/16. I'm just going to copy. See how well this works. Paste. 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 Doesn't work amazing. Let's copy that one instead. Copy, paste, paste, paste. All right, so now notice when I do this, now I know the size of each brownie. Each brownie is 1/16, and I know how many there are. Now you can see that it's multiplication. I know how many 1/16 I needed. I didn't know what number went on each brownie. That's what made this division. But if I added those all up, remember the denominator stays the same. So if I added all of those up, the denominator is going to be 16. And the numerator, well, there's 12 brownies and each one is 1. So 1 plus 1 plus 1, 12 times is 12. And then if I simplify this fraction, look at what I get. I can divide 16 by 4 and get 4. And I can divide 12 by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. That's how much sugar she used in all of them together. So all of those 1/16 really do add up to 3/4 cup. It's pretty neat, but you got to slow down when you're doing your word problems and ask yourself, do I know how many groups and do I know the size of each group? If I do, it's multiplication. But if some of that information is missing, if I don't know one of those, either the size of each group or how many there are, then it has to be division.